Hello. I'm going to do a quick tour of Make or Not War from the perspective of an industrialist. I'm going to go through kind of each step of the process from determining what to make to building an inventory that tracks how many you have in stock, how many you're selling on the market, and how many you're missing from your desired number, to creating a build plan for building up to your desired number, including showing the way that Make or Not War will break down the entire process from raw materials to finished ship, including all the steps in between. So I figured to start off with that's not overly complex, but still shows some of the depth when it comes to having a lot of steps in order to build ships. I'm going to do some T2 ships. So the first step that I like to do is I will track the things I'm thinking about building in the market tracking page. And what that's going to do is it's going to show me, the it'll have a an estimate of how much it will cost me to build the thing, and then it will also have, the current high buy and low sell for the item. So if I see that I'm going to make a good margin between the amount it costs me to make and the sell price, then that'll be a good thing to buy. So let's do. I'm going to pick a T2 ship. Let's do flycatchers. So I had on the market tracking page, I had a group called ships, and you can sort this with groups however you want. You can have as many groups as you want. You just click the new group button up here, and then you can add items to groups. So I picked the flycatcher. So it's estimating it's going to cost me about 34.5 million ISK to make a flycatcher, and I should be able to sell flycatchers for 41.3 million. So, there's some good margin there. So let's make flycatchers. I can add, you can add anything you want here, as many items as you want, any types of items that you want, anything that shows up in the market. So I've decided, okay, I'm going to make flycatchers. So the next step is to come to inventory. And in inventory, you're going to create groups of things that you want to have in stock. And there's two different sections. There's things for sale and things for use. So things for sale is like where I'm going to put flycatchers, for example. Things for use is like, um, if I want to keep a stockpile of a certain number of, let's say, fuel blocks, for my reactions all the time, I'm going to create a for use group and add fuel blocks to it. And then it'll give me a really nice, like, in fact, I'll even do that because I know I have that. So like, let's add that as an example. So like, you can come in here and you can do like select groups, and let's say I want, I don't know, 5,000 fuel blocks. So what this did is like, so this created a stockpile group that shows me, the fuel blocks that I have. And so I can see if I really want 5,000 of each fuel block, for reactions and whatever else, I need to make some because I'm going to start running a little bit low. Let's make a group for sale called ships. And to that, let's add flycatcher. And let's say, so I can show the power of the industry plan tool. I'm gonna say it's a lot. Like I'm gonna say 30 flycatchers because I know I don't have enough. I might have enough minerals for 30 flycatchers. I know I don't have enough moon goo for 30 flycatchers, so that it'll be a good example. So here we go, 30 flycatchers. So the inventory page, it's going to show me my target, and I can change it by just clicking the target. It's going to show me how many I have on market. If I have any on market, it's going to have a little icon here that shows the status of that market order, whether it's undercut or whether it's the lowest price. So actually, let's add something that I know I have on the market right now. I have a Pontifex on the market. So I said I wanted one Pontifex in my inventory for ships. It's showing I have a Pontifex on, I have one Pontifex on the market right here, and it's showing that I'm currently being undercut. So I could click this little button right here, and it will automatically open in game the market page for Pontifex, so that I can, modify the sell order. And then in warehouses, in my assets. So, what it's telling me is I'd like one. I actually have two. One is on the market, the other is in my assets, which is great. So it's saying I don't have any flycatchers. I want 30. I have a deficit of 30. Let's build 30 flycatchers. The quickest, easiest way to do that is just click up here, click build all. Or you can, if you have a bunch of things in the list and you only want to build certain ones, you can click the checkbox over here and then you can click build selected. And when you click build all, it's going to pull up the industry planner and you'll choose which character you're gonna, if you have multiple characters oft in Make or Not War, like because you do industry across multiple characters, it'll give you which character you want to build stuff on. And that's important because it'll pull the inventory for that character, so the assets for that character, so it'll show what you have enough of and what you still need more of. It'll automatically pull uh, material efficiency and time efficiency. I don't actually have any flycatcher blueprints right now, so it's saying 0, 0. Maybe I should actually, I think I have, let's modify a little bit. Let's take that off and uh, let's add, um, let's change this Pontifex to 5, because I know I have a Pontifex BPC already. So now it's saying I have 2, I really want 5, I have a deficit of 3, so we're going to build 3 Pontifexes. So I'm going to say build all. So now notice it automatically did my METE, so ME of 3, TE of 2 for a T2 blueprint BPC. I think this was with a parity decryptor, so that's 3.2 is a parity decryptor. And so you'll click calculate plan. And here's where you have a couple of options. So you can either build absolutely everything, or you can tell it that you want to buy certain things. Like let's say, hey, I'm not in the business of building fuel blocks. I don't want to be in the business of building fuel blocks. I'm just going to buy fuel blocks. No problem. Just click that button right there. There's a couple of built-in ones up at the top here, or if you want to just come through here and decide on an individual basis, you absolutely can. Let's say, hey, for whatever reason, I do not want to build dragoons. I want to just buy them. Okay, So I clicked the little button here, and now what it's going to do when I go to the next page is instead of saying, hey, you need this much titanium and this much pyrite and, whatever to build 3 dragoons, it's just going to say buy 3 dragoons, which is great. In my case, I like to build everything. I have the complete, library of blueprints for, all this stuff. So I'm going to build all of it. So we're going to click Save Plan. It lets me name it, whatever I want. It has a default name. This was a bad example because I actually have everything I need to build 3 Pontifexes. So let's do that again. Let's do that again for stuff that I know, or let's just, instead of 3, 5, let's make it 50. I know I don't have enough to build 50 Pontifexes. It's still, so it says I need 48 Pontifexes. It's like I don't have the PPCs for 48 Pontifexes, but it's like it's just gonna grab the METE of your best BPC and it'll use that number. So just keep that in mind. Okay, now I definitely don't have enough of everything to make 48 Pontifexes, which is great. So you get it brings you to this page, and there's 2 tabs here. There's a shopping list and a production jobs. So shopping list is this is what you need, this is what you have, this is the discrepancy what you need to buy. And what's great about this is I can just come over here and I can click multi-buy, and then I can go over to my game. I can pull up the multi-buy page from the toolbar on the left, and I can click the little import from clipboard button, and it will bring the entire order into the multi-buy page. I can, inspect prices to make sure I'm not getting scammed anywhere. And then I can just click buy, and I'll have bought everything I need, all with the right numbers, all the way down the list. And I'm able to do that in 15 seconds. And so like here's a I just opened up Notepad and just did a paste. So that's what it looks like when you click that multi-buy button. It adds all of that to your clipboard. So let's assume I went did my multi-buy. I bought all the materials I needed. I threw them in my DST or my freighter or whatever I have, and I brought them over to whichever station you're going to do your reactions in. You're going to drop off all of your moon goo, and then whichever station you're going to build stuff in, you're going to drop everything else off, your construction blocks, your minerals, all that stuff. And then you're going to come over here to production jobs. And if you're piecemealing things, like something that sometimes I do piecemeal is like if I'm going to build a meta capital module, that's something that you need. Like, let's say I'm going to build an enduring 50,000 MN enduring micro warp drive, right? So that's like, okay, you have to build a T1 50,000 MN micro warp drive 1, and then you need, three types of enduring components, enduring electronics, whatever else. And a lot of times, those aren't around on the market. So that's one of the things, like I'll go over to JITA and and in that case, I might actually go and like click all of these off because I bought all of these on the market, but then, the last couple I needed to hold off on. But this is just so you can track, what you've already purchased and what you still need. And then over here in production jobs, this is going to give you every single job that you need to run in order to build whatever you're saying you're building. So in this case, I'm building 48 Pontifexes. It says, I need to do 7 runs of nitrogen fuel blocks. I need to do 3 runs of helium fuel blocks. I need to do all of these uh, intermediate reactions. I need to use those intermediate reactions to make composite reactions. I need to run so these are Amar ships. Amar ships take a lot of these tungsten carbide armor plates. So it's like, hey, you got to run a ton of tungsten carbide runs. You need a lot of those to make 48 Pontifexes. So have fun running 366 runs of tungsten carbide, as an example. Once you've built all your composites, these are all the construction components you need. These are exactly how many you need to build. You need 2,794 of that one and 75,893 of that one. And then I need to, do 4 runs of Ram Starship Tech. I need 48 Dragoons, and then I can make 48 Pontifexes. And as I come through here, I can check them off. Boop, 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 boop. Those are all checked off. Boop, 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 boop. And what I like to do here, because I don't like to run 235 runs of a reaction, because it's going to take, you know, a couple of weeks to do 235 runs of reactions. What I like to do is I like to say like, okay, when do I want to refresh all my industry jobs and keep the train rolling here and make sure I'm, not taking up all my time making intermediate materials, make sure I'm actually making composite materials and construction components and stuff too. So I'll go, all right, I'm going to bed right now. I'm going to start, an industry run that I want to take like 8 hours. So when I wake up, I can quickly, deliver all my jobs, start all my new jobs, and then head to work. Is like something I like to do. So in that case, 8 hours is for me at least like 6 runs of a reaction. So up here I can say max job duration and I can say like 1 hour. And what that will do is it'll break all of these into individual lines. And then I can be like, all right, you know, I'm going to do 6 runs of stuff because that's what's going to take 8 hours. So I can go to sleep, wake up in the morning, deliver all of those, start the new ones, go to work, and be able to, move on to start making some of the composites and stuff. And so I can be like, all right, I'm going to do 6 runs of Hexite. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Great. I'm going to do 6 runs of rolled tungsten alloy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Great. 6 runs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what's great about this is like I can keep using this same industry plan throughout the entire process of building whatever I want to build. So I don't have to keep in track, oh, it wanted me to do 200 runs and I've already done 47 runs, so actually I only need to do 100 and I'm bad at math, 130 something runs. You don't have to do that. You just keep checking off your numbers here, however many runs you've done, until the entire list is completed. You can do the same thing with industry builds. It's a little, funkier because even if you say like 1 hour, it's not going to make one of everything, obviously. So like if I go down to 48 Pontifexes was a lot. Maybe that was a little bit overboard. But like here it's saying like, and the math isn't perfect. I think making 35 radar sensor clusters is actually less than 59 minutes, but I think that's being worked on. But regardless, it'll just be like, hey, I'm gonna figure out how many radar sensor clusters I can make in 8 hours, and click, 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 and make that number of them, and then come back in the morning and make more. And you can, those settings are configurable, so you can, like, well, I want to do, 4 hours instead of 1 hour. Okay, no problem. Now it's 4 hours. What did that do for? Where'd it go? I lost it. Here. Now they're 141, for example. And then, down at the end, it's you can make all of your end products, but it's given you, an exact list of everything it needs you to make, all the way through from raw materials to finished products. And then once they're all finished, they'll show up in, and you deliver them. They'll show up in your inventory. They'll say, hey, you've got, you know, 1 on market, you've got 49 in warehouse. So you can decide, okay, well, I want to put all 50 on the market. Okay, no problem. I'll put all 50 on the market. Like I can click this little button. It'll automatically open up the market window, and I can, modify sell orders. Do whatever I want. I think that's about it. There's a market orders button that shows you all of your market orders, and it'll have these little. I'm not going to click it because I don't want to show all my market orders, but um, it will show you this little status for each order, and it's actually got 3 statuses. It's got green, which means you have the lowest price. It has yellow, which means um, you're being undercut, but the price that you are undercut, uh, the system is determining you are being undercut under cost. So like if a Pontifex costs um, you know let's say a Pontifex costs 47 million to make, but the market best is 46 million, it'll be yellow. And yellow is basically, hey, you're technically being undercut, but you probably don't want to change it, because if you do change it, you'll be selling them at a loss. And then there will be red, and red means you are being undercut, and you still have room to relist and still be profitable. So it's got all three statuses across all of your market orders, and then each line will have this little shopping cart button where you can just click it. It'll immediately pull it up in game in the market page. I think that's it. Thank you for watching.